For those that enjoy the outdoor lifestyle, especially in the water, you're going to want to sit down, stop what you're doing, and listen to our next guest. This young man embodies the spirit of a true waterman and living the outdoor lifestyle. I have an insane surfer, big wave charger, paddleboarder, you name it, on from Newport Beach, Spencer Pirdy. What's up, brother?
Hey, Mike, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Hey, bro,
the kind intro.
No worries, bro. You earned it. So let's put it that way. I remember seeing you, I don't know, 20 years ago in the water, and you were a much younger man, and you're charging these waves. I'm like, damn, that guy's charging. He's got the mindset.
Yeah, a lot's changed over the years, and a lot of trials and tribulations, but it's all been a great, fun journey.
Well, let's definitely get into that. And what I want to focus with you, especially watching you mature and grow into a young man, and these sessions you've been doing, especially charging big waves, and then doing the Catalina paddle, which is insane. Congrats on that as well. I really want to delve into your mindset, because that is right on. Cool. So let's kick it off where it all began. Were you born in Orange County? I think your dad, you said Dana Point, and your dad was
so I was born here in Newport Beach. Actually grew up over in Dover Shores. My father is an architect. He did the Newport Beach Public Library here, most local building that he's done, but he's done a lot of different facilities for the UC school system, Cal State school system. So he's a great architect and very humble one. And he grew up in inland in the Chino area. And then my mother, she is as you know, a real estate agent. She's been an agent here for coming up on 30 years. But she's originally from Muskogee, Oklahoma.
Nice.
So not much surf there. But she moved out here and worked for Hogue for a long time. And then my mom and dad met here. And I just grew up here around the ocean. Parents put me in a pool when I could barely even walk. And I learned to swim. I have an older brother. And we were both lifeguards. Before that, we're in the junior lifeguard program, which is just so amazing, and we're so lucky to have here. So basically, that's how it all started for me. And my parents really kind of didn't push me into surfing. It was something I wanted to do long before, like I ever had a board. I would be walking around the neighborhood in Dover Shores, asking older kids, like, hey, are you a surfer? I'm on my little bike. I see you have surfboards in your garage. Are you a surfer? And they're like, yeah, of course. And, I think I did that for so long, every morning going down the streets and asking neighbors, that finally one of my next door neighbors, he was like, all right, Grom, here, I have this old board, you can have it. And he ended up giving me this old Hobie little shortboard with glass on fins. It was so beat up and waterlogged. You could just see the waterlogged marks all around it. But I was so elated. I was so pumped to have a board. And I remember running home and telling my dad. And before that, he had just pushed me into little waves at Big Corona and Little Corona on a boogie board. And he grew up surfing at Killer Dana. Or what was Killer Dana before they built the harbor at Dana Point, and it then turned into Doheny. And so he knew that was a great spot to take me. And I remember on a Friday afternoon, us going down there, and he pushed me into my first wave. I still remember it just like it, as clear as day. I caught the wave and I stood up, and I remember feeling like I was Laird Hamilton on a 30-foot wave. Because before that, I had watched Endless Summer 2. That was my favorite movie. And all those scenes, I just wanted to emulate these guys, And I for sure thought I was Laird Hamilton on this little 1.5-foot whitewash on a 30-foot wave. So that's kind of how it all started for me growing up here.
So I'm sorry if you said it. How old were you when you got pushed in?
I was 6 years old.
6. Okay.
Yeah.
And when did And that's epic, bro. Being a little micro Grom, mini Grom, going talking to the neighbors, asking, how cute is that? Asking if someone's a
It was funny.
surfer and someone finally broke down with you. That's epic.
I
Little
remember
kid.
I would even ask the pizza guy dropping off pizza if he was a surfer. I just wanted to be a surfer so bad.
Oh, super cool. That's awesome, bro. Kids always get me. That's my source. That's my soft spot. So very cool. So
Yeah.
so then you start progressing in your surfing. Where'd you go to elementary? Did you go to
So I
Mariners?
went preschool through 8th grade. I went to Our Lady Queen of Angels.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So
All right.
I was over there, a Catholic schoolboy, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I went through everything. I was even an altar boy when I was in 7th and 8th grade, or maybe 6th through 8th grade. So yeah, I went there preschool to 8th grade, and then across the street to Corona Del Mar for high school.
Gotcha. Yeah, I thought you went to CDM. And
played water polo there.
that's right. You did play water polo. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
All right. So now I'm starting to see how your mind starts getting chiseled away and getting tough. I see that.
Exactly.
Yeah, water polo. All three of my boys played. They didn't have it when I went to high school up in LA, but I did football and the traditional stuff. But water polo, not that water polo isn't traditional. It sure is down here. But water polo, man, that's a grind.
I mean, 5:30 a.m. Monday through Saturday practices. I mean, all 4 years in high school, and then you've got that 2 hour morning practice before you go to school, and then another 2.5 hour afternoon practice at the pool to end the day. And man, my hair would get green from the chlorine, and I credit so much of the discipline and like my comfortability in the ocean to water polo and swimming, and growing up in the pool and having that structure in my life.
Excellent. Do you see, like, especially, we'll get into your big wave charging, but did battling in, what position did you play in water polo?
So I was more a driver.
Okay.
I don't know what they call it nowadays. I know they have different names, but I was more of a driver, like to counterattack.
1, 2, or
really, basically.
yeah.
And
Okay.
and yeah, I like to do the counterattack game. And yeah, I had a lot of fun. I had 4 coaches in 4 years. I had John Vargas, who just actually retired from Stanford University, but I was lucky enough to have him my freshman year. He was by far my favorite coach. I was lucky enough to play up and be on like the varsity squad when it came to CIF. And we actually won a ring my freshman year. Mm-hmm. So I got to, I still have a CIF ring from freshman year, but that was kind of like it might tie in a little later when we talk about big waves, but I feel like I kind of peaked competitively when I was maybe a freshman and sophomore in high school. Because of that team competitive atmosphere, I really, really harnessed it and loved it. And I loved all my teammates. But then I had different coaches, and you had to prove yourself every year. I kind of got a little burned out, I think, from that whole competitive team aspect. And then that's when, honestly, I really didn't surf a whole lot. I was focusing more on water polo in my high school years. Mm-hmm. And then kind of exiting high school, I really set my sights on big wave surfing. And it was something I've always had a fascination with since I was a younger kid, just as little as I could be. I remember paging through surfers journals. I remember one article in particular on Mavericks that it frightened me, but it fascinated me.
Yeah. Well, I get what you're saying with water polo. Similar things were happening at Newport, as you probably know. And mm-hmm. when my oldest son was in Harbor playing, they went through several coaches to the point where all the sophomores, with the exception of 3, quit, and they all did. Yeah. They all went to swimming or crew, rowing and all that. My son stuck with swimming, but it actually helped him get a partial ride to college, which was cool.
That's awesome.
And then my other one played at Modern Day for a little bit. Then he ended it. It's a grind. Yeah, totally. But so when you're battling in the tank, as they call it, in the pool, and you're getting dunked under and you're kind of grappling, you're doing like water BJJ and Muay Thai boxing all in one. Did you find that experience, maybe getting held under, really helped you, at least with a base mindset, dealing with the larger surf?
Absolutely. You get put in these adverse situations. A lot of times I would be dealing with a guy who's bigger and stronger than me, right? Well, the ocean is always going to be bigger and stronger than you. And you're getting dunked under, maybe upside down in a position you don't want to be in. It just feels awkward. You get that little fight or flight moment where you're like, I don't like this. This is not. And what I kind of took from all of that is you have to learn just to let go and relax and realize, hey, obviously when you're playing polo, you got to kind of fight back. But in big waves and in treacherous surf, you have to relax. You have to conserve your energy. You have to realize that, all right, this is going to pass. I just have to chill, wait it out, and then get back up to the surface. So, 100% water polo and getting in those adverse situations really taught me a lot.
Perfect. Yeah. If you watch guys battle, especially at the set position, and my youngest played set quite a bit, took some concussions and stuff, but,
it's a dogfight.
Oh yeah. I mean, I actually did 3 dad's games at Harbor. No big deal, but I was like the non-water polo guy, but I could swim. I'm the surfer swimmer, but I did martial arts my whole life. No big deal. So black belt Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So I had the grappling experience, and I got in the pool, and these guys were all former collegiate water polo players. One was a former Olympian, John Drabot. It was gnarly to be in the pool with these guys, but I could at least swim with them as an old guy. And obviously my skill set was pretty baseline, but I could grapple. And so when these guys started banging with me and grabbing and doing the tricky stuff you don't see underwater, I just started laughing. I'm like, oh, now you're in my world. I'm just in the pool, not on the mat. And they learned pretty quick that I at least have a smidgen of what you guys went through in water polo, can at least appreciate it, and at least raising my boys in it. So that's gnarly. So
there's a lot that happens underwater that nobody sees, a lot of grabbing, a lot of pulling of certain parts that you're not too psyched on.
Bro, I had a dad grab my junk at a dad's game.
Yep.
And we were actually on, and we ended up grappling. Everyone swims to the other side of the tank, to switching sides, and him and I stayed at the other end just grappling. And when he grabbed my junk, I got so pissed that I egg beat it up and got up on his shoulders and his head and dunked him. And then I kind of put him in a mini guillotine and just said, don't ever do that again, bro.
Yeah. You see, that's when you see the fists start to fly, is when stuff like that gets pulled, because it's just not called for.
Yeah. Well, he was looking at me like, what the F, Postal? What are you doing? I'm like, bro, it's a dad's game and you're grabbing my junk. You think I'm going to just let that ride? Come on, man.
Not cool.
Yeah. Anyway, so it's not about me. This is all about you. So good frame of reference and mindset building and endurance for surfing. That's great. So, and then so after high school, you went to Cal State Long Beach, right?
Cal State Long Beach. Yeah. I was at OCC for quite a bit and kind of figuring out what I wanted to do. And I always had loved to write. And I took a creative nonfiction writing class by a professor by the name of Eric Rangno. I think he still teaches at UCI, but I just took this creative nonfiction writing, basically journalistic writing. And it was such an awesome class. The books we read, there was this one book called Dispatches by Michael Eyre, who's an author, and it was on the Vietnam War. And it was on this reporter who was basically with a troop in Vietnam, experiencing all this crazy, horrible war and all these scenarios that were just mind-boggling. But the way he wrote about it, it was fascinating to me, and it was really cool. And so yeah, I took that class, and then I was like, that's it. I want to get a journalism degree. And I went to Cal State Long Beach. I had a great experience there. I loved it. I was commuting. I was working 2 or 3 jobs here, working at Bear Flag. I was managing there.
Oh, that's
Costing
right.
owner and Erica.
That's right. You were.
Yeah. I was working there. I was working at this magazine called Bliss Magazine. And I started off as just a staff writer there. And then towards the end, once I got my degree, I was the assistant editor. That was so much fun because I was really doing, I was writing about what I love to write about. It was action sports, music, fashion, and art. So it was really cool. I got to meet and interview a lot of really cool people. So yeah, my time at Cal State Long Beach, I really liked it. You know, it wasn't the normal graduate high school, go to your 4-year, but I wouldn't have wanted it any other way because I was really ready for college at that point and really found what I loved and what I wanted to study. Learned about objectivity in journalism, which I feel like is kind of being lost in a lot of the world today. But hey, it is what it is. So yeah, I after journalism career, I kind of went in and started working at Billabong, who was an old sponsor of mine for surfing. And I did social media and digital marketing. And I did that for about 5 years. Our office was out in Irvine. Still have great memories of working there. Got to travel to Tahiti and go to the Tahiti Pro every year for 3 years. Then to the pipe contest in Hawaii, which is just unreal. If anyone gets a chance to go over there and watch that, I mean, it's the Super Bowl of surfing. So yeah, and then I made a decision to get my real estate license and jump into real estate with my mom. Now working for Berkshire Hathaway.
That's a good run, man. So
yeah.
First of all, there's no hurry as far as, you know, what you got to do with college. I went to a JC school in Palos Verdes, Marymount, Palos Verdes. It's now, I think, a 4-year, but I went there. Cool. And then I transferred to University of San Diego back in the day. And sometimes you need that time to find yourself and then make sure you're on solid footing to, you know, get your compass squared away. And then I like your writing skills. I did go online and check out, and I went on and read the, let me make sure I got this right, Puerto Gigante, right? When you had your first trip down.
Yeah.
So,
oh my God, that was incredible. Yeah, I almost forgot about that. That was great.
So I'm reading all your words because, you know, your major's journalism, and you put in some good, you know, SAT, as I say, SAT words in there. So it was good English in there, but you're right. A lot of journalism today is a joke. It's just crap, you know, and then unfortunately it's become very partisan. So you got to be, you got to be independent, man. So
absolutely.
But that article was killer, bro, because you really put in the enthusiasm and the stoke of being down there. You could read it. You could feel that, at least I could as a surfer, feel that reading your article, which was really cool. Bro, that was gnarly. How stoked were you to get hooked up with Greg Long?
It was a dream come true. Like that, I still think of that first trip down there. And now I'm 35 and I've been going down there for about 15 years now. And it's literally my favorite place on earth besides home. I have like family down there, the place I stay. It's like everyone's family. And I always try to bring down equipment for the locals and the lifeguards. And, but yeah, that first trip, I had a deal basically with Billabong where I wasn't really paid. You know, I'm not a pro surfer, but I love big waves. And the great thing about that was you can still train, surf normally. And then big waves, as we know, it's like a storm. It is a storm. That storms that don't come that often. Conditions have to be right. You know, the winds, the tides, everything has to come together, and the direction of the swell. So when it does happen, you got to be on it. And I was lucky enough to have kind of a deal with Billabong where I would get kind of 2 opportunities a year to go on big swells. One in the summer down to mainland Mexico, which is Puerto Escondido, as we've talked about, which is basically, they call it the Mexican pipeline. And then the other would be, I'd be able to go to the North Shore, which is basically the mecca of big wave surfing and surfing in general. They call it like the 7 Mile Miracle there. the North Shore of Oahu and Hawaii. So I got those two opportunities. Billabong had a team house over on the North Shore. And, but yeah, that first trip, I saw the swell coming. I knew it was going to be really big. And it just so happens that, you know, Greg Long was writing for Billabong at the time. And I was kind of asking the team manager, you think he'll be down there? And they were like, yeah, we're pretty sure he's going to be down there. Well, Greg's been going to Puerto for 30 plus years now. He's been going since it was just being pioneered, you know, as you know, it had been pioneered before, but he was helping to pioneer it as a really premier big wave and just the Mexican pipeline that it is. It's just one of the most challenging yet rewarding beach breaks on earth. So I was able to get linked up with him. I remember flying in, had all my big boards, and I met Greg that night at the place I was staying. We both stayed at a place called Casa de Dan's. If you're ever going down there, that is an amazing place. It's run by a Canadian, Dan, a Canadian of all.
Wow, yeah, go figure.
Folks, yeah, but it's really such a great place. Employs all the locals, great food, just a great stay. But so Greg's there, and I remember rocking up at night with all my gear. I'm just like wide-eyed. I'm about to be in some 20-foot plus surf, you know, and at one of the more challenging beach breaks on earth. And Greg's there, and I say, "Hey, I'm Spencer," and he's, "Oh, hey, nice to meet you." And he looks at me and he goes, "Be ready at dark tomorrow morning." And it's all silent. I'm like, "Okay," and he's like, "Just my room's over here. I'll be up in the dark, and we'll walk out." When it's that big at Puerto and you're paddling out into 25-foot plus peaks, you want to be out there because some of the best waves of the day will happen at first light, especially on a peaking swell. So you have to paddle out in the dark, right, to get out the back in this massive surf. So you have to go down towards the north end of the beach, which is where the harbor is when it's that big, and you paddle out through the harbor. And Greg and I woke up in the morning. I barely slept because I was so nervous. And I wake up in the morning, I go up to the lookout to check out the waves, and I hear Greg's like gong going off. He's doing yoga in his room. There's the smell of incense in the air. He's very, very dialed individual in every aspect. And then he kind of walks up and says, "All right, we're going to go paddle out." And we walk down with our big 9.6 guns, and we're walking on the main strip. There's still people partying at the bars at 5 a.m. It's this crazy dichotomy of party / serene, beautiful down in Puerto Escondido. And so we go out through the harbor at dark, and it's howling offshore, 25-foot surf. And it was just, Greg helped me in so many ways with lining up. He told me, don't go for a wave that you're not 100% sure you're going to catch, because guess what? If you waste all your energy trying to go on a 20-foot wave and miss it, you're going to turn around and there's going to be 5 more out the back ready to take you down. So, and he just bestowed so much knowledge on me that trip. And I can't thank him enough. And I continue to go down there and try to learn, and it's just a great place. But that first trip was insane. Like I went straight into the biggest waves of my life at that point, for sure.
What a foundation to just kick big wave surfing off. That's heavy. And that's a good glimpse that you caught Long doing his little spiritual Zen moment to get mentally focused for the day.
Absolutely.
That's good to know.
Before that, all I really had, my baseline was pretty much surfing at the wedge around here, which is by far like a huge advantage. Any younger kids who are trying to get into surfing bigger waves, I mean, the wedge in our backyard, it gets 20 feet on a big swell, and it's a great place to really feel, if you want bigger waves in general, to work on wiping out, which I became an expert at there. I'm sure you've seen, and just to get used to being in powerful surf. Newport Beach as a whole during the summer months, those south swells get us pretty good, slam our shore. So You can definitely learn from what we have to offer here.
Well, your video metal neck, like I got all those wipeouts.
That's what I was referring to. As
oh my
wipeouts,
God.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I figured. My whole head and neck were aching just watching that. I watched that years ago, and then I watched it again before this podcast, and I'm like, oh my God, it's gnarly. But yeah, the wedge is hardcore, bro. That's what an experience to have over other surfers to get you kind of prepared for some real deal waves. And then your water polo background as well. So
it helps a lot.
All those aspects about getting held under. So since we're talking about some big wave surfing here, and you got some good exposure on that last Hurricane Frank, I believe, at the point, right? I saw some stuff on there.
Was a lot of fun. It really that Hurricane Frank overperformed. Definitely, it was a lot bigger than we thought, and it just had that power. Ideally, these hurricanes are so hard to predict, so you just have to be on it. It can turn on in a second. It can look like it's going to be like we've got one coming this weekend, and it can look like it's going to be perfectly aligned and huge. And for some reason, it just spins off at 2 degrees the wrong angle, and we don't really see much of it, Or it could do the opposite, and it can do what Frank did and be a lot bigger than you think and more powerful.
Mm-hmm. So has there been a wave, and I'm sure there has, but has there been a wave or a few waves where you're like, this doesn't look too good as you're getting pounded down and under, and it's dark, and you're getting your thoughts together, trying to stay chill, and you're like, wait, I'm kind of down here longer than anticipated. Been a few of those, I assume? Yeah,
I've had definitely, the beach breaks I'm a lot more comfortable with because I'm versed in beach breaks here at home. The waves like Mavericks and Toto Santos, these deep water waves that it comes out of just thousands of feet of water basically, and then comes up to a point, a shelf, and it hits that shelf. Those waves on a long interval swell have a lot of power. 2 wipeouts that I can think of that I've had. One at Mavericks on basically there was a big swell forecast. This was, I think, around 2014, and we paddled out. It meant to peak the next day, but you get these forerunners in the swells. And this big northwest, it had like 19, 20 second interval behind it. And the longer the interval, as we know, the more power behind it. But it's very, very inconsistent. So there was probably about 10 of us sitting out at the Mavericks wave, which is up in Half Moon Bay. It's about probably a mile paddle out from shore. You got to go out around these rocks. One rock in particular they call Mushroom Rock. A lot of people say it's shark infested waters. I don't think they're shark infested, but they're out there. There's big fish out there. So we're out there and we're sitting and we're waiting for a set. And I think it's probably an hour and a half without waves. And then, me as a younger big wave surfer trying out there, I was getting a little antsy, and then this set came, and finally, I'm thinking, oh, this could be only one wave. So I went on the first wave of the set, and I made it to the bottom, and the thing mowed me down, and there were about 6 waves after it. And so at Mavericks, you're here and the rocks are inside of you, and every successive wave pushes you closer and closer and closer and holds you down longer and longer. And this swell had some power in it. And to your point, Mike, every wave I get held down a little longer, come up with barely enough time to grab a breath, go back down, not quite a 2-wave hold down, but luckily I had training and, I tried to stay calm, but I got very, very close to those rocks. And right at the end, when its jet ski was coming in towards me, I was able to just skim the rocks and get out into the channel. And my lungs were just depleted. I felt like I had just been holding my breath for 10 minutes. And trying to paddle each time and get up to the surface each time. I was physically beat up. And that was only after one wave. So I had to go sit in the channel for a long time. And then same type of deal at Todos Santos on a really big swell. It was about a 21-second interval. And it was one of the bigger waves I've ever caught in my life. My good friend Carson Hill, the Hill family from Newport, they own the gas dock. He actually came out with me to kind of he's an ex-lifeguard, and he was kind of running safety for me. Not really, just kind of sitting in the channel, but he watched the wave, and I got held down for pretty much 2 waves. And and that was probably one of the bigger waves I've ever caught. And then I came over to the channel. I was all wide-eyed, pretty beat up, but I was like, how big do you think that one was? And I thought it was a 40-foot face. And Carson goes, oh, like 20 feet probably. I'm like, damn it, really? It turned out to be a little bigger. So,
right. You know, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's just those waves that are, it's always the forerunners of a swell, you know, the ones that, because then you get the interval to drop, and you get more waves. You still can get really pounded, but it's those sneaky first few sets of a swell that really have a lot of power behind them.
Total cross. So did you, back on those 2 different sessions, even maybe the Puerto as well, those 3 different sessions, it sounds like you didn't have a vest at that time, right?
The Puerto swell, I had it was like a wakeboard vest. Those vests were just kind of getting invented. My first couple times at Mavericks, no, it was just all wetsuit. But yeah, I believe the Maverick swell, I did have a pole vest. I had one of the V1s from Billabong, which you inflate and it gets you up to the surface. I've actually never pulled it before. I've had one from Patagonia as well. I think I was wearing that one out at Todos, but I haven't ever pulled it. Not because I just haven't felt I needed to, but I always try to wait to use that, or will wait to use that if something I really feel it in my mind, like my conscience is telling me you're in trouble right now. And I knock on wood, I haven't had to pull it yet. I actually have an embarrassing story. I was at Mavericks. I think it was that same swell. So I went in from that session after I caught a few more, and I rested. And then I was coming back out in the evening, and I was pulling my hood onto my suit, and it had the inflation next to it. And in front of a crowd of 30 people, I accidentally on the beach pulled the thing. And so I started inflating on the beach, and everyone's taking pictures of me. What's going on?
Oh no.
Yeah, it was pretty embarrassing. But it was
awesome.
Funny. So that's the one time I've pulled it.
Did you get a new moniker or handle or nickname from that after that incident?
No, thankfully not too many people that I knew saw, but I still tell the story. I think it's funny.
Oh, it's good. Hey man, you got to laugh at yourself, right? You got
100%.
Got to have a sense of
laugh at.
That's awesome, bro. Especially when you're doing gnarly stuff like you're doing, you got to have a sense of humor to lighten the mood, so to speak. There may be listeners thinking out there, well, what if you do pull your vest and float up, and then you get pounded by a few more waves, and you can't swim, duck dive and swim back down, for lack of better words, to get some space. I've never had that experience. So I'm asking you, as a surfer, have there been those kind of briefings as far as that?
So ideally, if you're at a place like Mavericks or Todos Santos, and you've pulled your vest and it gets you up, you basically have a big, you look like a big muscle man because all this inflation has come into your suit. So you're up on the surface, and it's going to be hard to penetrate and go down. That is not necessarily a bad thing, because while you'll get pretty shook, you're going to stay up on the surface. You're going to get pushed in. It is a bad thing, though, if there are rocks like at Todos Santos or at Mavericks. That's why they have a deflate valve right here on your left shoulder. You can pull it, and that'll let the air out of the suit. After that initial hold down, that's probably very long, and you want to pull it, then you get to the surface, catch your breath. If you are getting close to the rocks, that's when you're going to want to use that deflate valve. And at that point, you don't want to be inflated because you're going to be ping-ponging on rocks, right? You want to kind of try to swim away from the rocks, or hopefully by that time, you don't want to rely on water safety. but there are a lot of skis out in the lineup now and guys that run water safety. If you're doing this a lot, and if I know I'm going on a swell, say to Toto Santos, I'll try to contact someone that I know who's going to be out there on a jet ski, give them $100 or a couple $100 and try to really use them as my water safety, do it the right way, not have them be running safety for somebody else and then have to worry about you. You want to try to book one of those guys if you can.
Yeah.
Especially if it's going to be in the 30-foot plus range.
Gnarly, brother. I mean, I could spend a whole couple hours just talking about this, and I'm sure listeners want it short. So that's insane, Spencer. Good job, bro. It's a different mindset. I definitely don't have that mindset. I started surfing a little later.
You do other things that I don't have the mindset for, like the jujitsu, and we all have our different, focuses on Earth, and
that's
it's
true.
Cool.
That's true. I mean, I've been skiing 46 years, so I have a different mindset. I mean, I've done some pretty sick stuff back in the day on that. And then,
I would probably tumble down the mountain. I've gone like twice snowboarding in my life, so I would not be able to make it down the mountain.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, it's all good. And, wow. But I'm always amazed to hear that and talk to guys like you that are just that different. You're on a different level, which is really cool. And then actually when I'm at the point and watching you guys just charge the biggest ones that are coming in, I'm just like, yeah, look at that. So, and then I try to go on something a little smaller and I get totally lip launched and tumbled, but whatever.
As long as you make it back to the beach and you're stoked, that's all that matters.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's all good. It's all good. So let's switch gears. Doing the Catalina Classic, or what's exactly?
Yeah. So it's the Catalina Classic. And that was the 45th year that they've had it. However, it's been running since 1955. Mm-hmm. And the reason it's had this hiatus was because of wartime, and then the Vietnam War. But man, it was, so I've done the bend paddle, every year for the past, this is our 7th year doing it. That's actually happening September 17th. Come check us out if you guys are around the Newport Pier on that Saturday around 1 or 2, we'll be landing. But I had always wanted that. That's not a race. That's a endurance fundraiser that we do for our friend Ben Carlson, the lifeguard who passed away. Everyone in this town knows Ben. And we raise funds for water safety for his foundation, all in his honor. And, he's just, sorry to go off track, but Ben Carlson, I mean, he is just affected this community in such a positive way, with his heroism and just how he lived life. So we try to pay tribute to him every year. But I had always wanted to do the Catalina Classic because it's such a legendary race. I mean, guys like Greg Knoll did the first couple Catalina Classics, and they were doing it on these balsa paddle boards with a compass on the front, and none of this like liquid IV hydration or anything like that or nutrients. They were just like grabbing the bull by the horns and doing it. And so it's got such history, and I had always done the crossing, but I had never done a race that was a 32-mile race. So I did a couple races and I qualified, and then I really set my sights on it, and I just wanted to do it as best as I could do it. I didn't want to beat anyone necessarily. Like I said, I already reached kind of my competitiveness as a youngster against other people. What I have personal goals now that make me competitive against myself. I want to better myself. That's what really drives me personally. So I reached out to a fellow big wave rider, big wave champion, and a champion paddleboarder, basically the Michael Jordan of paddleboarding, who's a friend of mine, Jamie Mitchell. And Jamie is based over in Hawaii. He's Australian, but he's based over in Hawaii. And I reached out to him and said I was going to do the paddle. And he basically said, all right, mate, I got a training regiment for you. And it was a 6-week training regiment. I paddled around 250 miles and it was like a 4-day deal. I stuck very strictly to it because Jamie, I remember his words. He said, if you want to really, be confident in this paddle. And then what really stuck out to me was he said, if you want to enjoy this 32-mile crossing, and when you think about 32 miles of anything, you're like, if you're doing that physically, you're like, how enjoy it? What? But when he said that, that really made me go, okay. So basically what he was saying is if you put in the work, then these are going to be the benefits that you'll receive, the fruits of your labor. And sure enough, the only time I wavered from the training was when Hurricane Frank came to town. I even texted Jamie. I was like, man, the waves are pumping. And I've surfed 5 hours today. I don't think I'm going to get the training paddle in tonight. I got to go to work. And he's like, don't worry. That's good training as well. So, but sure enough, that training paid off. I was able to enjoy every minute of that paddle that I did for the Catalina Classic. It was awesome.
Wow, that's a grueling race. So man, you've been put in some great experiences in life with some serious experts with the water. That's awesome, Spencer.
Yeah, I'm so lucky. I'm really grateful to have people like that around me. I mean, even I look at real estate, and I'm lucky to have someone like my mother who has this great experience that she's had in the industry. So yeah, I'm just really grateful to have people that have taught me along the way. I think having that, if you're younger, and having a mentor or somebody who's just giving you some guidance along the way is so huge.
Absolutely. So real quickly, part of this podcast was I was a first generation surfer, first generation realtor. I got in it later in life. And somewhat a first generation skier, although my parents took me around for a while, but they weren't they were doing it, but not like I ended up doing it. So yeah. I had to spend so much time. I was kind of like you, that little kid going around, hey, do you surf? But I mean, obviously not saying that, but I really had to search and find it. And we all do that, but to have a mentor to propel you higher and faster and help the learning curve is unmeasurable. And that's awesome, bro. So good. So that's good. You have your mom 30 year plus run with real estate, which is very helpful. And now you're a realtor. You jumped in at a very interesting time.
Absolutely.
We were at the city, and you and I were both at the city of Newport Beach listening to, I forget the gentleman who spoke, head of CAR. And you even asked him a question, and that was a good question about a new guy like me. What are you feeling? What do you anticipate? So to sum it up, so a guy of your mindset, and I'm similar. We don't let roadblocks, hurdles stop us. If we feel like we're set for something and it's all for good, then we're charging head first. At least that's how I am, and I know you are too. So. But that's good to have your mom to lean on, because it's definitely an interesting time in real estate, residential real estate.
Yeah, it is absolutely.
Yeah. But
she's just done it. She's just done a great job, and she's taught me. Like, first of all, I'm so lucky I grew up here in Newport Beach. And I'm lucky I have all this knowledge of the area, and we really try to work with people that are excited about living here. Whether it's the amazing activities you can do, like what we've all just talked about, going to the beaches, or the great schools, just the cool little neighborhoods that are scattered all around this area. We just want to help great people out and help them make that great life decision. So it's awesome.
Perfect, brother. Well, and you're a great person to speak to. You grew up here, so you're walking the talk, so to speak. Like, I've owned
four homes.
Yeah, and you got to. I mean, I've owned 4 homes and refied and remodeled, and we built I don't know if you've seen the pictures, but we built raw land into a year-round place in northern Idaho. So that was valuable learning experience. So what you can't get down here, you can't really hard to find raw land unless you're going in the sticks in the middle of the desert. So but no, that's good. You can walk the talk, and much respect for that, brother.
Thanks, Mike.
We're coming up on, hey, no worries. So bro, we got to do this again because there's a lot of stuff I really want to address with you because you've got such a killer mindset to just open up and talk, especially surfing.
Thanks,
hey, bro, no worries, but you're such a true waterman, and more importantly, bro, you're a good guy. You're a bro.
Thank you.
So,
you are as well. I'm so stoked to do this. This is awesome.
Yeah, thank you. So, if people want to follow you, whether it's your water lifestyle to being a realtor, how can people get a hold of you?
So the best way to do that, I'm on Instagram, Spenstagramming, or just search Spencer Pirdy, Pirdy. And then, my mom and I's office is down at 3309 East Pacific Coast Highway, right next to Gary's Deli. Come down, say what's up to us. We're at Berkshire Hathaway right there in Corona Del Mar. And then just say hello whenever you're around. I love meeting new people and I love to talk, and as you know, by this podcast.
Yeah, it works. So, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd love to talk, and just always down for meeting new friends and talking about whatever's interesting.
Perfect, brother. You're molded just right for being a realtor, and you know what? You'll be a good.
Thanks.
You'll be the good, original, look a person in the eye, mean what you say kind of realtor, not some of these other people that are in the business. Yeah. So always be true to your word, bro. Look a man or a lady in their eyes and mean what you say.
Absolutely.
You'll go a long way.
That's the way. Absolutely. Good advice.
Right on. Well, Spencer, hey, brother, mahalo. Appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time. Good luck out there. I'll see you in the water or out on the streets with real estate.
All right, Mike. Thanks so much. See you in the water.
All right, bro. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.